Welcome back to the studio. Every time I start talking, my lip itches. I think it's because I don't usually talk by myself. I don't know, it's a weird thing. I hope you're all having a good week, whatever part of the week you're in. It's going well here. Obviously we're in the holiday season, but as of yet, we have yet to see any snow. It's really kind of weird because I'm in a valley here, and we could be getting snow all around us, and yet we won't have any snow here unless the snow really hits right in the valley. Last week I had to pick up and drop off my niece at the airport, and my friend went with me to drop her off because we were coming back in the dark, and he just wanted to go because it was going to be snowing so he could keep an eye on me. But on the way back, it was whiteout conditions. I couldn't see any of the stripes on the highway. When we were behind somebody else, you could see where their tracks were. If there was nobody ahead of you, you couldn't see anything. The only thing you could tell if you were still on the road was the thumping on the edge if you had gone off the road. Even the sensors couldn't tell if you were going over the stripes of the road. And then as soon as you got about 20 minutes close to the house, no snow at all. So that's the way it is around my hometown. And the funny thing is that I moved back to this area, which is where I was born, to get more snow from Florida because I missed the snow. But my recollection of snow was from even further north. So not much snow here. I have really appreciated all of the people who have been watching the videos, the nice comments that we get, and the people who have subscribed and liked the videos. And I know that we have continued to try and improve the videos, and we will continue to do that. And Urban Elementz has continued to expand their categories that they offer. They continue to expand their free designs that they offer on the website. They have free self-print designs. They have free digital designs. There's a whole category on there. If you search free in the search engine, you will find a lot of free items. Of course, some of the designs have free in the title, so don't get those confused. But I have also been wanting to do something for you that was from me personally. So I'm going to share with you a recipe today. And it's a recipe that I kind of copied from a bakery back when I was working at a quilt shop. I used to work with several women, and I would go to this bakery in the morning, like at 9 or 9:30. And they had these really good almond pastries, but they would have one or two at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And you can't go to work around several women with one almond pastry. No, you don't get anything then. So I kept asking them, can't you make more? Can't you make more? And they said, no, our production line is completely packed. We can't add anything else. We only have so much oven space. So eventually I got tired of asking, and I thought, these pastries can't be that hard to make. It has to be like a puff pastry, and you can buy puff pastry. So I just started looking around for things that could make these pastry, and I finally found the combination. I'm going to share it with you today. It really is 3 ingredients. 3. And I've seen people say, oh, you can make this with 3 ingredients. This is 3 ingredients, period. So I'm going to show you that today before we get started on our project. If you don't want to find a recipe, you could skip forward. I don't know how much because I don't know how long it'll take. But I'm just going to show you the steps and show you what the results are, and then we can get to our project today. Okay, so let us begin. These are going to be our first 2 ingredients. These are both the same company, just a slightly different label. The company name is Solo, and these are Solo cake and pastry filling, and the flavor is almond. They also make like poppy seed or raspberry or apricot. This is cake and pastry filling. What it is not marzipan, and it is not almond paste. Those two things you could probably do something else with, but it is not going to work in this particular recipe as they come out of the package. These are the same exact thing, and these will work exactly as they come out of the package. This is the one I'm going to open today. This is the only brand that I know of that makes cake and pastry filling in this format. So this is ingredient 1. The second ingredient is going to be puff pastry, as I said earlier. It doesn't matter what brand you use. I'm not endorsing any particular brand. I've used both of these, and I've used other brands. The only difference is the size of the pastry that comes out and how many pieces you get. This, you get only 1 sheet of puff pastry in it, so I have to buy 2 packages. This one has 2 sheets of puff pastry in it, so I can just buy 1 box. I'm going to use this one today because I've done it the most. These are slightly smaller than this, so you get more out of this, but you have to buy 2 packages. But I'm going to use this one today. First thing I'm going to do is open up my can. I know a lot of times we open up the can this way, but I don't like the ridge that's left. So I like to open the can this way. It gets rid of that ridge in the top. You do have to be careful because the top is very sharp, but it lets me get all the contents out without that lip being at the top. So that's part A. I could be done with my can opener. When you open up the puff pastry, this usually you have to let this defrost in the refrigerator overnight so that it's pliable, or you could let it defrost in the refrigerator or on the countertop for about 20 or 30 minutes so that it's flexible. You get 2 sheets in each one, and if it's frozen, it's not going to open like this. You just take out your little separators, and I like to just roll them a little bit. If you roll them a little bit, you can get a couple extra pastries out of it. You don't necessarily have to roll them. It won't be the end of the world. I know not everybody has a rolling pin. Not everybody has a little flour or powdered sugar sprinkler. So one of the things you may not know is I love to bake. So I guess the flour could be considered a 3rd ingredient if you want to yell at me. A 4th ingredient. So I have the puff pastry and I've got my almond filling. I'm going to dump this whole can of almond filling in here. On the other type of pastry, it's going to make the filling a little bit thinner since they are bigger, and on here it's going to be a little bit thicker, but I kind of like that really thick almond flavoring in there, so I like them like this. After you make them once or twice, I'm sure you would decide for yourself which ones you like best, but this is really just like making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We're going to try and spread the filling as evenly as possible, right to the very edge. We don't have to leave a space. And that looks pretty even. Now I'm going to sandwich the 2 nice and even. Now I've got my plastic ruler that I use in the kitchen, and my pizza cutter. I'm just going to do 1-inch strips. You could do these slightly smaller if you wanted to, and you could also cut them in 1-inch strips and then cut them in half this way. If you wanted to just make like little bow ties, I'm going to let that one go at that size. The next step is just going to be kind of decorative. I just pick up a strip and I'm going to twist it as many times as I want. And that gives it more surface area for when it bakes. When I get it on the tray, I kind of push the two ends down onto the tray. And then I'm going to put the next one over on the next tray. I really kind of want to give as much space between these as possible so they get pretty even baking in the oven. And as I said, if you're using the other type of pastry, you're going to get more than this, and the tray is going to be fuller. So sometimes this tray would be full rather than it looking like it does right now. One thing I will say is, as you can see, I've got Silpat in the bottom of these trays. You could just use baking sheets, baking paper. I like the Silpats because they easy to clean and they prevent the bottom from burning. It's like an insulation insurance policy. Really great for cookies as well. So I'm going to take these in and put them in the oven. The oven's been preheating while I've been showing you this. One thing I will tell you is any box recipe will tell you how long it is to cook. This one says for this recipe, preheat the oven to 400 and cook for about 15 minutes. What I do on these, I preheat the oven to about 380 and I cook them about 20 minutes. Puff pastry can cook anywhere from about 375 all the way up to 425. And the time can be anywhere from like 14 minutes all the way up to 25 to 30 minutes, depending on the configuration of the pastry you made. I just like to keep an eye on them. I want them to be golden brown but not burnt, and you have to keep an eye on the bottom. And I'd rather them cook for a little bit longer at a lower temperature rather than risk burning. So I'm going to put these in the oven. I'll show you what they look like when they come out, and I'll show you what the last ingredient is. While those are in the oven, I'm going to get down to business. So in an effort to maybe convince it to snow, I'm going to do the Batik version of Let It Snow. It's a beautiful snowman with a little bird on top and a pair of ice skates. And the nice thing is we do have a ice skating rink here in town. It's actually open all year because we have hockey. We play hockey here. So there's a hockey arena, there's an ice skating arena. They do concerts in there sometimes too, but we can ice skate all year round here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the Batik version of Let It Snow. And to get that done, I have my background fabric already cut. This has got it's a white on white. And I've used this before, but it has beautiful white snowflakes on it, so I think the fabric's gonna really pop on there. So I'm excited for that. And I've got my pattern out already. All I have to do is get my pieces out and my color cover sheet. And of course I'm gonna go ahead and get out my light box next. I did want to say that all of these patterns are available in a catalog that's very convenient to look at when you're not wanting to sit in front of a screen. And there's many patterns to look at. I don't know if I could do this backwards for you to look at, but they're also available on the computer if you do prefer the phone or a tablet or the computer for looking at these. If you sign up for an account on urbanalements.com, you can also add these items to your wish list as long as you're signed in when you're looking. And you can send that wish list to your family and they could purchase these items for you when it's your birthday or for the holidays, for special times of the year. So that's always a great plus also. So I'm going to go ahead and switch out, get my light box if I can find out where I put it, and I'll get set up for the next step. Because I goofed around a little bit with my recipe, I went ahead and put some of these pieces about where they're going to go, just to save you some time. I ironed my paper pattern I always do that whenever a pattern's folded, just so that it doesn't translate any of those folded creases to the placement of my applique pieces. I also re-ironed my background fabric, and here on the light box you can really see those snowflakes and little tiny dots. That's the white on white design on the background fabric. It doesn't show up like that when it's not on the light box, but you can see it when you look closely. So that's how it relates to the snow. So I'm going to come around front and see if I could carefully put the lettering on so it doesn't wrench my back out of shape. Another thing that I did was put just a tiny bit of glue stick on the paper pattern and laid my background fabric on it, just to try and give it a little bit of help when I move the pattern and the fabric so that they stay together. Because all of these pieces are laser cut and pre-fused, that means that the Steam-A-Seam 2 is already on the backing and all of the pieces are pre-cut. So you don't have to be messing with scissors or a rotary cutter or a pattern to cut pieces out. All of that's done for you. Now you do have a full-size pattern, and you could reproduce the pattern later if you wanted to with your own fabric. That's perfectly fine. But for this one, you have that all done for you. You also have a full color or a full instruction sheet on the back that goes over all of the steps of assembly right there. And so if you have any questions, you could always refer to that. But I can't imagine anybody having a question after my very thorough tutorial here. So I'm just peeling off these pieces and putting them right where the pattern indicates. And it's really just a matter of peel, place, and press. And because that Steam-A-Seam 2 has tackiness to it, to that fusible web, you can see that the fusible web is tacky. It will stick to something. It will stick to your background fabric until you're ready to use it. And the Steam-A-Seam 2 doesn't just stick to fabric. We have fused our applique to glass, wood, metal, canvas, burlap, all kinds of different products. So you could put it on a jacket, on a book bag, all kinds of different things, home deck items. And I just kind of bend the fabric, and that paper backing really just comes off. If you ever have an issue with the fusible web not sticking to the fabric, you could just reposition the paper backing and lay it back down on the ironing board and put the iron back over it for a few seconds and let that refuse, and generally that's enough to rebond the Steam-A-Seam 2 to the fabric. Also make sure to give it a little bit of steam. And also, if you ever have an issue with the paper not peeling off, you could also score the paper with a seam ripper or a pin, and that gives you some place to bend the paper and get a hold of it and peel that paper backing off. While I'm down here at this end, I'm going to do a couple of the other items that are down here. This is the blades of the skate, and I can see that this portion of the blade goes underneath this part of the boot. And these are definitely ice skater blades, not hockey blades. I think I found that hockey skates are much easier to use for me. So I'm just gonna, one thing we need to do is put the body of our snowman down first, because that's going to go down below the two boots. So we have to get that on first, and then we can go ahead and get our first boot on. That'll also help that boot stand out a little bit more. And now we can get our second boot on. Now there's a lot of these little eyelets for the laces on the boots, and these are much thicker than the other fabrics. This is like an ultra suede, and because the ultra suede is thicker, but the Steven Seam 2 remains the same thickness, you have to watch these. The circles are so small that sometimes these will get loose before you iron them in place. So you want to keep an eye on these while before you get to the iron. And you also have to make sure that the iron has a chance to get through the thickness of the ultra suede. Ultra suede also is a man-made product, and so you don't want to melt it. Now, I've never melted a piece, let me say that, but I have had them where I didn't iron them enough, and they I had to go back and re-iron them. These are probably the slowest pieces because they're so little. Usually I'm all thumbs and I can't get them off, but today I'm having a little bit of luck. I'm going to go ahead and do my tree branches for my snowman in case he wants to give me a helping hand today. I have the boot edge that was back behind the other boot. I just pulled it forward so I could go ahead and put the eyelets on this boot. That'll give us a focal point and perhaps help keep it from seeing any shadowing from the blade from underneath. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of the things here. I'm going to get my other arm on. And I think I'm going to move now up to the top a little bit more. And then I'll come back and do the other eyelets. We have really, really dark, ominous clouds today, and I wish that meant that we were going to get some snow, although I highly doubt that. I wish this snow would come as quickly as I make this beautiful wall hanging. Did you see that? I cast aside the actual hat and kept the paper. That will never do, sir. Never do. I love these big carrot noses. Now the snowman eyes are not ultra suede, so we don't have to worry so much about those. Those are just black fabric. And let's see. Whenever there's a dotted line on a pattern, that indicates that that pattern piece goes back behind another pattern piece. So that can help you determine which layer goes first. And if you get one piece wrong, as you saw me do with the boot, you can simply raise it up and correct it. It's very simple to do. I almost think of this little flower as a trademark. It really isn't. But it's so ubiquitous for Urban Elements. I love it. Also the little Tweety bird. Well, it's not Tweety bird. It's a little bird. As soon as I finish putting these on, I can bring the pastry out. They are finished. I ended up cooking them 20 minutes at 380. Actually, I think it was 22 minutes. I added 2 minutes at the end. You can see the little bird legs have a rounded end and a straight end. And I like to use the rounded end where it's visible and tuck the straight end up underneath the body. These, we only cut one size of the leg, but we use them in a variety of different pieces. And so how much of the leg tucks up under the bird is going to change depending on which pattern they're on. So I always just start at the bottom and put them on. I'm going to put my little bird's Santa hat on so that everyone can feel like Christmas. This is probably the only piece that we may have a hard time seeing because it's white on white. But I will fear not. Okay, I'm trying to get there. Whew, what did I do? I turned my light out. I've been doing applique for so many years, and the great thing about this applique is if I wanted to do this project in handwork, it would take so long. It easily could take 4 or 5 months to do this much handwork, maybe even longer, because you kind of get discouraged, or not necessarily discouraged, but you don't speed through it with all these tiny pieces. And because of that, you can't get a lot of different projects done in 1 year with hand applique. With this, you could get so many projects done, and that's nice when you want to change out quilts during the year. But also, if you've got kids and grandkids that all want projects from you, this is a really great way to get them. You've made them, and they're all finished and by you. And also I'm going to lift that up just so I can see where to put these dots. Also, this is a kind of project that all different age groups could help with. I could have just guessed where these little dots went, but I didn't want to have to do that. And I just think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I just lost one dot. So I'm going to go ahead and look for that. But I also think I'm going to trim out, well, let me see. I think I'm going to trim the blade from under this white shoe and this piece here, because I can see it a little bit. Oh, here's my other dot. I'm going to do those two things before I get to fusing. Okay, now I know where my dot goes. And I can go ahead and do those two things. I'm just going to snip those as close as possible without them showing. We have all the pieces done, so I'll remove the light box, switch it out for a Teflon pressing sheet, and clean up my board, and then we can get to the fusing stage. Okay, this is pretty much the final stage, and I know it goes really quick. But we have all the pieces in place. You can see they're very stable, but they're not fused yet. They're just positioned. We have peeled and placed, but we haven't pressed yet. So Steam Seam 2 does require some moisture component, either steam or water from a spray bottle with the iron. It's just like concrete. Just as concrete needs water to activate this bonding agent, Steam Seam 2 also requires moisture, water to activate that bonding agent. So I'm going to go ahead and mist the top of the applique, and I'm going to then lay over my Teflon pressing sheet, and then I'm going to apply the heat of the iron. And I'm going to do this in sections, and I'm going to try not to move the iron around a lot because I get fidgety when the camera's running. The Teflon pressing sheet does a lot of different things. It is an insulator, so it kind of prevents the iron from scorching the fabric from sitting in one place too long. And it also protects the background fabric from anything on the sole plate from transferring onto the background. It protects the sole plate from any of the Steam Seam 2 from seeping out of any of the little edges of the applique onto the sole plate. It protects the edges of the applique because sometimes I might slide the iron side to side, and I might catch the edge of the applique and crinkle it up, but it would be underneath the iron and I wouldn't be able to see it. So it keeps those edges really, really crisp and pristine. You might ask, how long do we have to keep the iron in one location? Can't really answer that because everybody's iron is different. Your heat settings would be different than mine. Your ambient temperature, the quality of your iron. So many different factors go into that, so I can't really answer it, but your own experience will come into play. If you have been working with a fusible product and afterwards you top stitch or quilt and you're getting gumming on the needle, that's an indication that at this stage you did not fuse long enough or with steam. So you would have to monitor your own work, and that's how you would answer that question. Did I fuse long enough? Did I use steam enough? Also remember that the heat and moisture have to transfer all the way through each of the layers. So where the lettering is, there's only one layer. It's a L on top of a background fabric with a seam 2 in between the two layers. But where I have the hat, I have the center of the flower on top of a yellow piece, on top of the red, on top of the black, on top of the background. So that's multiple layers of fabric and seam 2 over and over and over again. So in those cases, we have to make sure that we iron from the top down and then flip that block over and remist it, and then iron it again from the top down again with the block flipped over, because we want to make sure that we're activating that seam 2 in each layer. I'm going to go ahead and keep ironing each of these sections, and then after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and iron it again from the back side after I remist it, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you what the block looks like. Okay, this is 22 minutes at 380 degrees. You can do a little bit longer if you want them a little bit browner. I didn't want to keep running in and out of the kitchen, so I just went ahead and pulled them out. So we have the puff pastry and almond filling. That's to the 2 ingredients. And now I'm putting powdered sugar on them. I like a lot of powdered sugar on mine. And I have to tell you, my mom likes the powdered sugar on hers as well. I have made these many times. My family asks for them every time they come to visit. If you keep puff pastry in the freezer and a can of that in the cabinet, the solo filling, then these can be whipped up in a matter of just minutes, especially if you transfer the puff pastry from the freezer to the fridge the night before. I also take these to guild meetings and to all kinds of things like that. Single batch, double batch, triple batch, doesn't really matter how many you make as long as you have room for them in the oven. So that is my gift recipe to you. These are incredibly delicious. It's one of the few things that I actually make and eat over and over again. And this is our finished Let It Snow block. So there you have it, my gift recipe to you. Couldn't be much simpler than that, and I have to guarantee you they're really incredible. I like mine with a cup of tea. Most people really enjoy them with a cup of coffee, but they're really good with anything. And this is our Let It Snow block. So I hope this will be like my talisman and bring snow, because it's one of my favorite things in the world. I'm going to go ahead and get a couple borders on this. Definitely blue batik, because this whole winter season I've been buying Christmas themed batiks like a lunatic. Red, green, a ton of blue. I'm surprised how many blues I bought, but also an incredible amount of like beige on beige winter batiks. I mean, who knew? I may have enough of those just to do a beige on beige like log cabin winter themed quilt. I don't know. So that's it for today. Almond sticks, almond twists, whatever you want to call them, and Let It Snow. And I really appreciate your time here in the studio. Look forward to seeing you again next time. Until then, try almond stick, almond twist, and we look forward to seeing you then. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Let it snow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. There will be a message, let it snow.